Hey, courageous school leaders. Welcome to Lead Beyond Limits, the space where school leaders like you gain unfiltered insights from educators, uncover the hidden barriers holding your staff back, and get practical strategies to lead with confidence. If you're ready to tackle the real challenges in your schools and create the clarity your team needs to thrive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and get to work.
Hey, courageous leaders. So, my name is Dr. Demia, and welcome. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope that you go back and watch some of the previous Lead Beyond Limits series and that you are gaining some wisdom from it, something that's practical for you as well to take back into your schools. And if you are returning, welcome back. It is amazing to have you here again. So, if you have been following the December series, we've been covering two big truths, right? One of them is, that this idea that rhythm determines results. And the other one being that reaction mode actually drains clarity. Okay. And so today we're taking the next step. And that next step is personal because let's be honest here, your next semester won't be shaped by your plan. It won't. It won't be shaped by your PD calendar. It won't even be shaped by your goals, right? It will be shaped by the one, again, the power of one, that one priority your rhythm will actually protect. So let's talk about how to choose it and, more importantly, how to keep it. Okay, let's get started. And let's get started with talking about, why most priorities fail in the first place, right? My mom used to tell me this all the time. I hated when she hate when she did this because she was always right. You didn't fail to plan. You didn't plan to fail, you failed to plan, right? And this is what that's where that statement will hold right here, right? That your priority failures are not that you're not that you don't want to, you're not planning to fail, you're just failing to do the things that make your plans a priority, right? So most leaders don't struggle with setting priorities. We know the things that are important. The challenge is holding them, keeping them safe, and really making them a priority where it is not sidetracked by anything else. So again, most leaders can tell me when I walk into school, I'm having a conversation with leaders, like, what are your top 3 priorities? Like, I've been asking that question to some schools that I'm working with, a school district that I'm working with. And as I'm doing my meet and greet with the school leaders, I'm asking them, like, what are your top 3 priorities? They can run them off right away without hesitation, right? But when I shadow them, their week tells me something different. It's a different story than what they said their priorities were. Because in schools, priorities don't fail from a lack of clarity. We are clear as leaders of what they are. They fail from a lack of protection, right? How is this priority being protected for the sustainability, for the long haul? And here's what I mean. Your Monday priority competes against urgency, interruptions, discipline, emails, parents, crises, staffing issues, behaviors, phone calls. And slowly, that priority that felt obvious on Monday disappears by Thursday, right? We talked about this last week. And it's not because you changed it, right? It's because the week and the events in the week eroded it. It took it away. It took it out of your focus, right? That's a priority drift, right? And a priority drift can destroy your semester. That's a truth, right? Hit me in the comments and let me know, is this true or not? I know it was for me as a school leader. Let's get to another truth, the second truth. The second truth is that there are way too many priorities that are actually mislabeled, right? They really are security priorities, right? So let me push your thinking here for a minute. Most leaders aren't actually juggling 5 priorities, right? They're juggling 5 security blankets. So if I don't list all of these, something will slip. If I pick the wrong one, it'll look like I didn't see the full picture. If I don't say them all, someone will be upset, right? So leaders say everything is a priority because it feels safer than actually naming the one that matters the most. And this is where courageous leadership comes into play, where it steps in. The truth is that when everything matters, nothing will move. So when everything matters, nothing matters because nothing's moving. Your team isn't confused because they don't know the work. They know the work. They're confused because they don't know what you need them to protect. And that's where the follow-through collapses. Okay? Hit me in the comments. Agree? Have you experienced this? Let's keep the dialogue going. Let me share another truth with you. Last one. Third truth. Your priority isn't defined by value. It's defined by rhythm. This is the breakthrough. Most leaders, like leadership programs, I went to a bunch. I have my doctorate in educational leadership, right? A lot of us as educators are continuous learners. So most leadership programs never touch this, right? We talk about value, and I talk about value in my book in chapter 1 and the importance of it. But your priority isn't defined by your value. It's defined by your rhythm. So you can have a value, but if you don't have a rhythm to keep that value moving, then it's not a priority, right? Your priority is not the most important task. It's not the most urgent issue. It's not the highest pressure mandate. Your priority is the one thing your rhythm can actually sustain, right? So let me say that again. Your real priority is whatever your leadership rhythm can protect consistently. That's the priority. This is why some leaders have beautiful plans, but inconsistent results, right? Let's talk about these Title I plans, these school improvement plans, beautiful, but the results are not consistent, right? They set priorities beyond their rhythm's capacity. Your rhythm defines your priority, not your ambition, right? We're going to get deeper into this as we go along. I'm about to go off on a cliff here with this one because this one is really important. But I'm going to reel myself back in because I want us to stay on track. Okay? So, that said, that means that one priority is going to change everything. And I remember going to a conference and hearing Lavelle Brown talk about how one of the things that we need to do in education and urban education is, one, we need to put more love in it, which I agree. And the other one is we need to slow down. Like everything is not a priority. Everything's not a fire. And so the one priority will change everything. Where does that priority come from? So every semester has one priority that will determine your instructional focus, your leadership capacity, your team alignment, your staff confidence, your role clarity, your meeting quality, your student experience, right? And here's I'm gonna keep it real with you. Your semester will be won or lost based on one area where you choose to create discipline, right? So leaders who improve buildings don't execute more. They execute one thing with discipline. And that discipline spills into everything else. You're the head. The body will follow. That one priority differs from school to school, right? But it always falls into 3 buckets. Like we all know this as leaders, right? There are 3 buckets that we look at. We have an instructional focus priority, for example, a single standard, a single student work expectation, a single look for, like when we do walkthroughs. Another bucket is a leadership rhythm priority. You'll hear this or have experienced this as tightening your leadership team huddle, creating alignment touch points, simplifying meetings, right? And then the third one is a culture stability priority, right? We are, as leaders, are always concerned about the culture in our building. So an example would be like, strengthening transitions in a building, or tightening the way you communicate, the norms for communication, repairing trust, right? Through consistency. Not 5 things, not 3 buckets, but just one. Pick one. If you pick the wrong priority, the semester slips. Pick the right one and everything will tighten. And again, this is based on what your school needs, right? So let me talk about how you can identify your one priority, right? You need to get your clarity and confidence guides right now. If you don't have it, hit me in the DMs. I'll send you the link. It's free. This is where you're going to capture your notes, and I will provide you with some reflective questions, right? So let's talk about how you can identify your one priority. Ready? Okay. So the first thing is you need to revisit where your clarity is leaking, right? We had this conversation. If you've been watching this, and if not, go back to November 24th, the Lead Beyond Limits session, where I'm talking about where your clarity is leaking. So go back and rewatch that, right? So that's the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, where's your clarity leaking? And so that simply means like the difference between having clarity and clarity that can survive the week, right? Because all of these things that pop up. The idea wasn't a throwaway. It's the crux of the issue. All of the things that come into place and snatch away that priority that you had, right? Because the priority you choose for the next semester must come from the place where your clarity is currently collapsing the fastest. And this requires you to have real honesty, real reflective honesty, in a quiet time where you are really thinking about like, where is my clarity collapsing? Like, I know what I want, but how come it's not happening? How come it's not coming to fruition? What's happening here, right? So it's not the place that makes you uncomfortable, not the place that you've been avoiding. It's not the place your district is pressuring you about. The leak is the truth teller, right? So here is what I need you to reflect on. Get your guides. Ready? Where do decisions get re-explained every week? This was a big one for me because I was always under the assumption that people knew what I knew, so I didn't need to go into deep explanation until my assistant principals were like, no, yet they kept asking me questions. And I was like, well, I don't understand. Like, why are you asking me? Because they weren't clear, right? So where do you do decisions get re-explained every week? The second thing to think about and reflect on is, where does the team lose traction the quickest? Another thing to think about, where do understandings happen repeatedly? Misunderstandings, where people are unsure, very similar to the first question, but where do these misunderstandings happen repeatedly? Where do expectations drift as the week goes on? And then the last question is, where does your confidence drop? So your leak is not a weakness, right? I need you, don't think about it that way. It is a signal. So it's telling you exactly where your leadership rhythm needs discipline. And here is the deeper truth, y'all. If you cannot choose a priority that isn't aligned to your leak, right? Let me rephrase that. Your leadership clarity has to be aligned to your lead. And if you cannot do that, then you're not being honest with yourself and you're not thinking deeply and reflecting enough, right? So it has to be aligned to your leak. If you are selecting the priority that's aligned to your leak, you'll pick a priority but if you don't pick one that's aligned to your leak, you're not going to pick one that you're going to protect, right? You have to make sure it's aligned. This requires honesty. And an unprotected priority is the fastest path to drifting in the semester, right? Tell me what you're thinking about right now. Like, how is this resonating with you? Have you experienced this? And what are the things that you have done when you felt like, oh my gosh, the week has gone by? Everything that I had originally planned, that one thing for the week is gone, right? Tell me how that makes you feel. Drop it in the comments. Hit me in my DM. Here's the second step. The second step to identifying your one priority is ask which area, if you stabilize it, could create like a chain reaction, right? So this step is going to require, again, courage and honesty, right? Courageous leaders. Okay. Because the one priority that changes your semester is not always the one with the most pressure attached to it. It's the one with the most influence behind it. Okay. You know this already. So some areas in your school act like amplifiers, so to speak, right? Fix them and everything else gets easier. Other areas act like sinks. You pour energy into them and nothing changes. Your one priority must come from the amplifier category. Okay. So here's how you know you have found it. Get your pen out. When the area is consistent, meetings will tighten. When the area is clear, feedback will improve. When the area holds, the shift in instruction will start to stick. And then when it's protected, your team is going to feel much calmer because you're protecting that. And when the area is stable, people will stop guessing because they're clear. So when you're looking for the keystone, not the spotlight, the wrong priority creates motion. The right priority creates momentum, and that is the difference. Okay? How you can identify your next priority, step 3. I need you to ask yourself, what can my rhythm actually protect every week? That's a real question. Because in my mind, and for me, this is a big question for me, because in my mind, I can do everything all the time. And I know a lot of you feel the same way too. And some of you will actually do the things because you feel like you'll get it done quicker or better. Stop doing that. Because your rhythm can't protect your priority when you do that. That's an unsustainable rhythm, right? This is where most leaders will actually, this is where you actually unintentionally sabotage the entire semester, right? Because you choose priorities based on what you want instead of what the rhythm can actually protect. Okay, so your rhythm has capacity. Your week has a pattern. Your emotional bandwidth has limits. Your team has thresholds. Your real priority must fit inside those constraints. Okay. So here's the leadership piece that, we need to lift up here. If your rhythm cannot protect it, your team cannot execute it. So ask yourself a couple of questions. What is the one area I can commit to no matter the fires in my building? What is the one area I can speak to consistently? And the rest of your staff should be able to speak to it as well. What is the one area my team will see me protect, right? What is the one area my leadership identity can reinforce weekly? And then lastly, what is the one area that can survive busy weeks, testing weeks, and every hit at once week? That everything hits at once week, like, oh my goodness, where this, that happened. Those weeks, what is the one area that can survive those types of weeks, right? Your priority is not about ambition. It's about discipline. It's the decision that says, this matters enough for me to be predictable. because your team follows consistency. They don't follow your intentions. Okay? So, in your clarity, before we go to clarity and confidence, tell me how this is resonating with you. What are you thinking about? What are some things, like questions that really stood out for you that you can address and implement next week? So let's move on to the clarity and confidence guide that you have. I want you to, in addition to the questions that I just shared with you, the reflective questions, I want you to open up your guide and go to the control your narrative piece, because we do that every week. We talk about these 3 pillars in any topic that we are discussing: controlling your narrative, leading with confidence, and building your legacy. So go to control your narrative, and I want you to ask this question: what story do you tell yourself about why certain priorities slip? Is it accuracy or avoidance? Keep it real. Like, real talk. We have kids' lives on the line. There's no time to like sugarcoat the conversation. What story are you telling yourself about why certain priorities slip? Are you avoiding something? Right? Put that question there and to reflect on during this week. And then in your lead with confidence section, I need you to jot down this question: what priority makes you feel stronger when you lean into it? And which one makes you second guess? Right? That tells you where your leadership strength lives. Okay? Go to your build your legacy section and jot down this question. If your team adopted your top priority as their rhythm, what culture would they create? Right? Now, that's the priority worth protecting. So I need you to make sure that you are reflecting on those questions during this week and really being honest, because again, this is December and we want to start the second half of the year already off strong. We need to get realigned. Okay? So, I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks something that's dropping on January 1st, and I'm so excited to drop for you guys. So next week, we're going to talk about how your leadership week determines execution, alignment, momentum, and culture. We're going to dig deeper into that. And we'll take your one priority and build it into the rhythm of your leadership week, right? You'll walk into winter break with clarity that you can actually use, right? So I want you to be able to use it and use it all week, not lose it by Wednesday or Thursday. Okay. And again, on January 1st, I'm giving you access to something that makes this work simple. It's not theoretical. It's not overwhelming. It's not one more thing, because I remember those feelings, right? This is a tool that's going to help you build your priority discipline and protect clarity and create a rhythm that building can trust, that your building can trust, that your staff can trust, that your team can trust. Right? So if you've been craving direction that actually holds, because you have the clarity, but you need it to hold, January 1st is going to feel different for you when I drop this. I am so excited. So until next week, I need you to keep leading beyond limits. Have a great evening.